Everybody. I want to talk in our newsletter this week, frameworks specifically, those relating to EQ. Now, because EQ frameworks are deceptively simple and wildly useful, they actually give you language for what your body already knows intuitively. So instead of using language like, I'm stressed or I'm annoyed, EQ helps you see what's actually happening inside you and how that state is shaping your tone, your decisions, and your impact. And this is also helping you to see where you still have choice. Now, that's why inside the art of learned intelligence, we always start with EQ. Because if you can't read yourself clearly, you cannot lead yourself clearly. So the first framework we want to talk about today is called signal versus story. Now, every moment, your body is sending signals, tight chest, racing thoughts, that here we go again feeling. And then what's so interesting is that your brain rewrites that as a story. They don't respect me. If I don't control this, things will fall apart. Now, high EQ leaders have learned to pause and ask, what's the signal here before I act on the story? And that 2-second pause is really everything. It's the difference between reacting from a habit and responding with intention. Now that leads us to our second framework, the reaction gap. Now EQ lives in a space between the trigger and the reaction. And in that space is where choice lives. There's a beautiful quote by Viktor Frankl that says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose. So in real rooms that have real stakes, leaders don't become less driven. What they become is more honest. I'll be more defensive than I want to be about this topic. I want to just make that aware. This isn't about a deadline. This is about control. And sometimes while they're saying these things, literally in mid-sentence, someone's going to stop and say, wow, that really is my stuff. And that's the reaction gap in action. Which then leads us to our third framework, name it to tame it. Now, when a leader cannot name an emotion, it's going to run the room. But when they can, it's going to give them space. It's going to give them choice. Those name it moments are the hinge between the reaction and great leadership, old patterns and trauma and new possibilities, self-protection and trust. These are not soft. These are high performance, honest moments. And that leads us into framework 4, which is ownership before influence. So here's the hard truth about this one. You cannot influence what you won't first own. So EQ is really about taking responsibility for your reactions, for your triggers, for your impact, not with shame, but with clarity. Because again, EQ isn't about being softer, but it is about being sharper with your awareness, cleaner with your communication, and more intentional with your impact. And once leaders can read themselves accurately, they can stay present under pressure. They can reduce unnecessary friction. They can build real trust and psychological safety, leading without burning relationships as fuel. And that really is the foundation for the art of learned intelligence. So in our next newsletter, we're going to be talking about relational intelligence, that's RQ, and what happens when this level of self-awareness starts shaping how leaders build trust, how they handle conflict, and how they design relationships at scale. If you yourself would like to learn more about the art of learned intelligence, please visit www.theartoflearnedintelligence.com. As always, we are here with you in the work. See you next time.